If you don't know by now, I play a lot of FPS games. Specifically, I play a lot of low-budget FPS games. I like games with fun movement and fun weapons where I can just fly around and get crazy. Now, every time I post on TikTok, like clockwork, people hit the comments to go, "Roman, sir, my king, my pretty, what is this game you're playing?" And that's by design. I don't put the names of the games that I play in the description of my videos because I know people are gonna ask, and more engagements means more views. Get farmed, bozo. But I figured it was time. Get all my favorite FPS games together and rank them. Now, some may call these movement shooters, some may say boomer shooters. I call them games better than Call of Duty. So here we have it, my top 10 indie FPS titles. Now listen closely, little man. These are my favorites, okay? This is what I enjoy. There's no need to pull up talking about how is this not on the list? I can't believe you put this over this. Why can't you believe it? Why can't your brain process someone liking one game more than another? Fine God. But everything on this list is very good. Everything here is a game that I enjoy and have revisited more than one time. I don't dislike anything here. Hence why it's a list of my favorites. All good? Better be. There's a lot of great indie FPS titles out there, and this video would be an hour long if I talked about every single one of them, but there are a few honorable mentions I just wanted to give a quick little shout to. Beyond Citadel, Dusk, Sulaco, and Turbo Overkill are 4 games that were really in contention to make this list, and each of them really had a solid case for why they should be here. So if you like indie FPS stuff, definitely go give those a look if you haven't yet. Now let's start off this list with number 10 being Ultrakill, and the fellas are fuming already. Take Bozo, bad list. I like Ultrakill, man. It's great. The game's got satisfying movement, the guns all feel very responsive and fun, and it's a game that as you spend more time in it trying to improve, you'll physically be able to see that time investment in terms of style points and just looking cooler in how you play. Now me personally, I haven't spent a ton of time with Ultrakill. I've played it enough to understand it on a basic level, and it's a really fun game that I'll continue revisiting in the future. Plus it does get some extra credit for being one of the games to kind of re-energize this new age indie FPS scene that we've been seeing recently. So big ups to Ultrakill. I think it's well deserving of a spot on this list. At number 9, I got a game called Deadlink. This is one that I'm relatively new to, but I understood its appeal almost immediately. I like roguelike stuff in my FPS games, and there's a couple other games on this list that have a very similar formula to Deadlink, but essentially you're going through these runs, you're going room by room, clearing out waves of enemies. You're progressing through the boss fights, you're collecting different weapons and upgrades, and when you die, that's it. The run is over and you lose all those items. But you do carry over a currency that allows you to unlock permanent upgrades for the different classes. It's a simplistic formula, but a really satisfying gameplay loop. Like basically everything on this list, the movement mechanics are really fun, and this loop definitely allows for heavy amounts of time investment if that's your thing. For number 8, we got a Deadlink adjacent game called Robo. The premise is the same. Go room to room, clear waves, collect new weapons, fight bosses. But the element that puts it over Deadlink for me and adds a really unique aspect to the gameplay is that it's also a rhythm game. As you're fighting, there's music that plays too, and in order to attack enemies, you have to shoot to the beat of the music. If you're not firing at the proper BPM, your attacks do no damage. This forces the player into a flow state of letting the music take over, and it makes for some really satisfying gameplay. Hitting those big shots on beat with a bass drop just feels good. And something that's really cool is you can upload your own music to the game. Their editor allows for you to upload MP3s and fully customize it how you want the beat patterns to work. It can be kind of tedious for sure trying to get the beat patterns right, but once you've perfected crafting one of your favorite songs, it feels amazing to go in there and get crazy. One of the more underrated games of 2024. At number 7 is a silly little guy called Angerfoot. This game's got a lot of character, man. You play as this barefoot fella living in a place called Shit City where crime is a requirement. People are running around getting into all sorts of shenanigans, and one day someone steals your precious shoe collection. So now you gotta go out there barefooted, kicking people in their mouth to get back your shoes. The art style is super unique, it's got some really good humor to it, and there's so many cool little additions to these levels if you decide to take the time to examine what's going on. You might pop into a room and pull up on a fella that's just taking a dump. This is just good comical fun with a unique world to it, and the gunplay is very satisfying. At number 6, I got a game called Get to the Orange Door, and this game is here strictly darkly off potential. This game's in early access right now and it's very unfinished, but this has the skeleton of a phenomenal game. I love a good grappling hook in a game, and this one's got a pretty satisfying one, and really the movement here is some of the most fun on this list. If you take the time to get good at it, you can realistically traverse these entire levels without even touching the ground. There's so many weapons to choose from that have upgrades that work in the same way that like a COD Pack-a-Punch does, where you put your weapon in and it transforms it to be a lot stronger, and then it also gives it like different effects too. This game could realistically be in the top 3 if it was a finished project. The problem here is there's just way too much about it that's currently missing. But that should speak volumes to how highly I think of the things that are there, that an unfinished game with flaws is still sitting at number 6. And now we're kind of reaching into the elite tier of games for me. These are the games that I think are bordering on masterpiece levels of good. With number 5 being a game called I Am Your Beast. This is a game that my first impressions, I didn't really get it. I'm playing through and thinking like, okay, you know, slower movement, it seems pretty straightforward. It was just fine, but it didn't click with me how I expected it to. I enjoyed the vibe of the story and how these different scenes played with these radio conversations, but it was overall just something that was cool. It was fun, but nothing crazy. And it wasn't until I started to pay attention to the ranks that my mindset on this changed. So after completing a level, you get a grade based on how fast you were able to complete your task. And so I said to myself, I want to try to get that coveted S rank in each of the levels. And this is where the game went from being really solid to something special. I'm not a speedrunner by any means. I'm not even really interested in that scene. I'm also not a completionist. But this game just feels so damn good to see that S rank come on screen after a run. Because for most levels, the window for error is almost non-existent. You got to be damn near perfect. And you've also got to figure out what perfect is. What enemies do I need to take out? How do I need to take them out? Using what? What pathing should I take? These are all things that play into whether or not you'll get that perfect grade. And it becomes obsessive. At least it did for me. Replaying levels over and over again to see, okay, that saves me 3 seconds. I could do this instead of that to cut time. It's what I feel like the process of a speedrunner's head is like. And in this specific instance, I really enjoyed it. Also, just a quick note, this game's got the most satisfying headshot indicator I've ever seen. You get this quick like millisecond pause combined by a huge red X that just never loses its appeal. I Am Your Beast is a really good one, man. Number 4 was even a surprise to me. When making this list, I didn't think this would place as high as it does, but the more thought I gave it, yeah, I really value it that much, and it's Changang too. If you've ever played the game Fear, this game is definitely an homage to that, and most people are going to compare it to those Fear games. I just say, let two goats coexist. Everything in this game just feels really good, man. All of the weapons feel useful in every single scenario. You can play through the game with whatever you find most enjoyable, and it's going to be able to do what it's got to do. The slide in this game is one of the most satisfying slides out there, and when you combo it with the ability to slow time, it makes for some really cool looking action. I love the balance of bouncing between these fights between, you know, these military enemies and these mutant freaks. It like flirts with horror while not going all the way there, and I really respect that as someone who's not big into horror. This is probably the most classic feeling game on this list in terms of gameplay. Like if this game came out in 2008, I think it would fit right in, and I mean that in the most respectful and praiseworthy way. They took a game style that's kind of got abandoned and just made it feel ever so slightly modernized. I'm just a big fan of throwback games. That bridge between old and new gets me every time, and this game does that really well. At number 3 is a game that was my personal favorite game of 2024 to close out the year, and that's a little gem called Echo Point Nova. This game's made by Greylock Studios, and this fella just knows how to make good FPS games. More on him in a little bit. But this is a game that's all about classic fun. There's no real characters or development there. There's a story, but it's pretty irrelevant, at least it was for me. This game was just about flying around the open world and taking out enemies in the coolest way possible. With the help of a hoverboard and a grappling hook, you visit different POIs in this sky world, taking on enemies in some of the most satisfying combat on this list. You are never stationary, and most of the time you're not even on the ground. Your character's got this floatiness to him that gives him a lot of hang time, and there's perks that support that too, like aiming down sights freezing you in the air, or getting a kill resetting your jumps. There's a few boss fights in this game, and I'll admit that they're a little underwhelming overwhelming in their mechanics, but the experience feels very epic. You ride up to this huge open and empty area trying to catch up to these enormous mechanical dragons. It's a very similar feeling I get when playing something like Shadow of the Colossus or The Pathless. I really don't know how to gas this game up properly, but it scratches a certain itch for me where it's damn near perfect. Number 2 is Mullet Magic. This was number 3 on my favorite games of last year, and somehow the more and more I spend time with it, it just kept on climbing to where it's not just my favorite game of last year now, but it's an all-timer. The 90s anime art style here is perfection. I don't even watch anime, I don't mess with the stuff, but it looks too good here. You play as this like cartoon version of Riff Raff, and you're trying to save a Twitch streamer from the billionaires. This is the type of shit they write movies about. You're going around beating the absolute dog shit out of capitalists to save your colorful hair liberal queen. It's a good way of living, you know? This gameplay loop is so good though. The game was directly inspired by another game called Post Void, where basically you get 10 seconds to complete the level, but each time you kill an enemy, it adds time back onto your countdown. And you also get extra time depending on the style of kill, right? Like headshots and environmental kills count for more. You upgrade your weapons and your perks as you're going floor to floor trying to reach the top level of this building. I don't say this too often about games, but this is one where I really wish it was actually longer. I really didn't want this to end because on top of the game just being fun, it's really visually pleasing to watch these cutscenes filled out with so much personality. They could 100% make a Mullet Magic miniseries and I would be fully invested. This game is just as much about the aesthetic and the lore here as it is the fast-paced action, and I think they found a beautiful balance of the two. But number 1, my favorite indie FPS of all time. It always has been, and it probably always will be. It's Severed Steel. Made by the same creator of Echo Point Nova, when that game came out, I really believed for a minute that it was better than Severed Steel, and while I do think he did some things that definitely improved upon the ideas of Severed Steel, it still doesn't top it for me. Severed Steel just has an aura about it that I just don't think it'll ever be contested. The movement choices in this game are very simple, right? You got run, jump, dive, slide, and wall run. Nothing like life-changing here. But the way that these mechanics combo together on these level designs makes for a one-of-one sandbox feeling experience. And with the help of Severed Steel's bullet time effect, where you can slow down time, every kill in this game feels like its own action movie. The slow effect is also a sneaky smart development choice that makes this game more accessible to some people. In the world of fast-paced movement shooters, it could be difficult for someone to be flying around bouncing off walls while also managing to consistently flick your shots to your enemies, right? The ability to slow time allows for you to correct your aim much easier while still looking really cool doing it. The amount of levels and weapons and modifications in this game is really unmatched. Plus it has a really extensive level editor which has allowed people to make some really cool maps. The game has a pretty small player base, so there's not a lot there, but it would be cool to see a game like this attract a bunch of creatives who could come up with some really unique map designs. The guy who made this, he's just a master of his craft. When it comes to developing FPS games, I'm always going to be looking forward to what he does next. But that's it. I hope you guys like the list. I hope y'all found some new games to check out. And I hope some of y'all are angry. Like the kind of angry where it alters your entire day, where you take it out on your loved ones. I hope my ranking of games has caused you to boil over and ruined your closest friendships. Give me a kiss.